Hey there, good morning. I just wanted to share a couple things with you that were on my mind. I just got back from a little run this morning that I wasn't really super in the mood for, but what I find is that if I can just manage to push myself a little bit past the point of like resistance, then it will turn out good. You know, especially if it's something that I know that I always feel good afterwards doing or proud of myself for doing, like going out and working hard or whatever it may be. It's funny how we have these competing forces in our brains and in our persons that we want to go out and explore and do big things, but we also want to be total lazy shits at the same time. So, and I want to, I've got one part of me that wants to sit there and eat cashews, until, cashews and dates all day long and sit and watch YouTube and lay in bed all day long. But I also have the other part of me that wants to go out and, make something of myself and be productive, because to realize that we are not just us. Well, I mean, we are an us. We're not like a singular thing. We are a conglomeration, a configuration of colonies of competing interests. Different parts of our brain, our second brain, which is called our like gut bacteria, are down there pulling strings like, no, we want to do this. And then you've got something up here going, I want to do that. And that's why we have the tendency to be indecisive or argue with ourselves and want to do a thing, but then go and do the exact opposite. A ton of the time I say, I'm not going to do this thing. And I resolve to do, like, stay away from this food, or do a fast where I'm not going to eat until a particular time, or not totally binge eat every single night, which I basically am in the habit of doing these days and have been for, a long time. And I've had times where I can discontinue eating or control myself, in a bunch of different ways. But what I wanted to recognize that fact, and to try to be more, for me to be more mindful of the fact that it's not, we literally have two brains in here that are connected. You have two hemispheres. It's not a brain. It is literally like you got one part over here and one part over here, and they're just connected by a little, by little wiring called the corpus callosum. And you could actually cut that and disconnect it, and strange things happen. You can figure out what this side of the brain does versus this side, because they operate very differently. And then you got different components therein. And then also the heart actually has memory too. You've got like, so it's kind of weird. So there's that. And what I also was thinking about was the fact that so many of, like, our adages, our sayings, our concepts of things, I think are, I don't know if it's purposeful or just like a happy or an unhappy accident that we have these things misquoted. Like, I'll give you for instance. Okay, they for natural selection, they say Darwin said survival of the fittest. Actually, what it came down to is more the survival of the most adaptable. It's survival of the fittest, but the more fit to the environment. It's the reason. So it's not like only the strong survive, or the apex, whatever. Ultimately, it kind of is a little interchanged, but it's not that that it's just the strong people. It's or the strongest of the whatever, because a lot of times the alpha male in packs will not be the most the most the biggest one or whatever, or the strongest. It'll just be the most well adapted to to that alpha state for whatever the reason is. Maybe his horns are just slightly bigger, or whatever it is. But it is actually the most adaptive. Like the survival of the fittest. Also, when we say like it's a dog eat dog world out there and we're all in competition, but no, it actually, just like in the movie A Beautiful Mind, how his theory was about, it's not just to look out for oneself, but it's also to be in cooperation with the group. That's why we're so why we're the apex predator, is not because we're the strongest, you know. It's not because we're the fastest. We are the apex predator on this planet. Why? Because we're the most adaptable. Where animals will come out and they're pretty much set. They're a horse can like fly right out of the horse's ass on his feet and go like run down the street. Like it's crazy. They're like, whoa, geez, okay. Brup, brup, brup. Whereas humans, we're like useless little chunks of flesh for years. Why? Because we are the most adaptable creature on the planet. That's why we're everywhere, and why our brains are, we get to be programmed when we are growing up. For the first like 7 years, I think we're just like total sponges, and we can adapt to whatever kind of lifestyle we're thrown into or environment or whatever. But to realize this stuff, that you can use that as leverage to this. A ton of this comes from a guy named Tom Bilyeu, Impact Theory from YouTube. He really sums it up fantastically. But to parrot some of his stuff, is that we are the ultimate adaptation machines. We get good at anything that we subject ourselves to repeatedly. So if you're not good at a particular thing, you don't realize, believe it, that our brains are super adaptable. They are caloric hogs. The brain is a caloric hog. And since calories were hard to come by for most of our evolution, what we did is the survival strategy that the body that we use is that when we do something repeatedly, the brain, to conserve calorie usage creates a shortcut, makes it easier. And then activities that you will pair up and do together, like let's say you drop and do 20 push-ups every time after you brush your teeth. After you brush your teeth, you will automatically, if you do that for like 2 months straight, you don't even have to try to remember from that point forward, because those things are intertwined. So when you actually realize that if I work, what Tom calls it is the only belief that matters, which I don't really agree with. It's not the only belief that matters, is that if I work hard at something, I will get better at it. That we are adaptable creatures, being that we are so capable of change. It doesn't appear that way because our brains are also prediction engines, but we're not always the best at predicting what's it going to be. That's why we make our decisions, because we predict, I eat that, it's going to taste good. I go over here, it's going to be fun. I don't, jump off a cliff, because that would be bad. That's a pretty good prediction. But we don't always know what the best way to go is. So what I have found is to try to listen to some smarter people than me. Not hard to find. I mean, I'm like in betweenish, but I realize that I don't always know which way to go very often, and I make pretty bad predictions as to the outcomes of a lot of different things in life. So to try to find some people more intelligent than me, figure out what they're doing to get by, and then try to actually replicate it. They say that, and progress is made. It's like Edison said, it's one, yeah, and I'm not a big fan of Edison. He actually just ended up buying most of his inventions and paying people to work on and develop them. He was a good businessman, though. Anyway, he used to electrify elephants, electrocute them. He invented the electric chair, and to discredit Nikola Tesla's AC power. But anyway, versus his DC, they're both good. But you can't electrify an elephant with DC power too good, unless you convert it to AC, I guess. But anyhow, so these are things that and how I do it and how I've been shown to do it is literally to put these things. Okay, so 1% perspiration, 1% inspiration, or 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration. So you get the idea and to soak this stuff in, but actually to do it, to put it into practice, and not just do it once, but do it enough times where it actually sinks in, and give it a whatever it is, a proper time for you to actually get good at it. Because your brain will, when you do a new thing, it'll create new pathways, or you have new thoughts or a new action, whatever. It creates new pathways in your brain. And then if you keep on running there, you keep on doing the same thing, the brain says, okay, well, we're going to be doing this now. It's hard at first because it's just like a janky little path in your mind. But then you do it repeatedly, and eventually it does this thing called myelination, which is it wraps whatever the neurons in a little conduit called myelin, a little sheath, and kind of solidifies the path. And then all of a sudden you've got it like a highway, and you've got other ones in there that you could take or have been taking throughout your life that you maybe are not the best ones for you to get you to where you want to be, or the most optimal. And how you rewire that is, you don't have to like rewire it. You just come up with a new one, and then use that new path as much as possible, and the old path will start to overgrow. But it's very important that you stay off of that old path, because it's just like water going down a deal. It can very easily flood back into the old path, and then you can find yourself doing the same old things again. And so anyway, it's just some stuff that I found kind of interesting. Another one is like they say, like master, like Benjamin Franklin said, jack of all trades, master of none. That's not what he said. That's actually a thing. I think it's a takeoff on what he said, but it's actually what he said is a master of all trade, or what a jack of all trades, master of one. The idea was that you should have a good like general knowledge of lots of different subjects, but you should choose one to really get good at and excel, because it's specialization that really helps people get far, is figuring out one thing that you have some good aptitude on it, and going hard on that particular thing, but also to try new stuff. Sometimes you go out and push on certain doors, and without the push, you could be like, oh, that doesn't work out, or that doesn't look like something I'd want to do. But then you do the thing and you're like, dude, this is my fucking jam. And you wouldn't know unless you actually went out and did the thing. Plus, it's really good for your brain to just do new things, go new places, try new things, even stuff that you're not necessarily interested in, because it is beneficial to your brain. And then you can actually find, oh, well, holy crap, I'm a prodigy in this. I had no idea, something like that. But anyways, just some stuff that's been working well for me. It's a journey, and basically telling myself, reinforcing the beliefs that to propel the actions that will get me to the life that I want. That is another huge part of it, which is I literally every day while I'm running, or the first thing in the morning, I get up, I say, thank you, God, for this day. Today is going to be an amazing day. I don't wish for things to go as I would have them go. I wish for things to go as they actually will go, and embrace every aspect of life, good, bad, in between, as a necessary component in my personal spiritual development. and to embrace it all and love it to the best of my ability. Like an ugly, ugly fucking kid that is annoying or whatever it is, you still love it because it's yours. Well, this is your life. So try your best. Do not say, I hate this, I don't enjoy that, blah, 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 blah. Whatever it is, if it's necessary, it's all baked into the pie. Because without the bad, we would have no ability to recognize the good in life. It's the fact that we don't always win that makes winning so awesome and breakthroughs awesome, is because we don't have them all the time. The just having a halfway decent day, I can appreciate it so much now because of all of the terrible days that I have had in the past, just miserable, and most of it came from just ignorance and not believing in my potential, and taking in some terrible, having a terrible mindset and taking in terrible, substances and information and everything else. So anyway, life can be so beautiful. And the reason why I make these things is because my life has changed so incredibly. I was literally homeless on the street just 4 years ago, and I've never made more money. I've never made more, have been more content. I've never had more appreciation for life as I do today. And things are far from perfect, but to see everything, your failures, as lessons and sources, as necessary parts of your development to become a self-actualized, to become the person that God, the universe, wants you to be, or you're destined to be, because it's all inside of you. Some inspiration, 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration, and a shit ton of repetition. But it's absolutely worth it. As far as I'm concerned in my life, the more effort I put into making my life good, the better my life gets. Strange concept, right? I'm 44, I'm just figuring this stuff out. Give it a half-ass effort. And that was the thing that I really thought for a long time, that, or I think what it was that I didn't believe that I could get better or that I was good enough. So I never tried hard at anything, because if I didn't try hard, I could always say, well, I didn't succeed, but I didn't give it I was giving it a half-ass effort. Oh, that's really, really hard, skip it. I used to love quitting, was my favorite thing to do. I used to be at like a job or a whatever and be like, I quit. After a little bit of hardship, I'm like, nah, you know what, I quit, or whatever it was. And I never really gave myself like the opportunity to really excel at anything, because truly down in here, I didn't believe that I could, because a lot of us from our early childhood programming or whatever, we get some shitty programming. But to realize that you did not create you, we all get thrown into our bodies, and we all got structured by whatever environment we were at. So give yourself a break. You don't have to take full ownership of, take full ownership of what you do today with what you've been given. But what we've been set up with, we had no say in the matter, and all of our, fucking weird trips and shit that you get from your parents or whatever, disempowering beliefs and all that. But guess what? The good news is that you are the ultimate adaptation machine. Anything that you do repeatedly, you will get better at. And then getting better at getting better is a thing. So anyway, I love you guys. Have a beautiful rest of your day. There you go.